This is the first report that looks at the wealth of all of the world's 4.4 billion adults. It's also the first report that looks in detail at the composition of all of the assets of all of the households in the world. And it's a report, I think, that digs deep in terms of looking at all aspects of the wealth spectrum and all parts of the wealth pyramid, if you like, from the super rich at the very top to the exciting and fast-growing bottom of the wealth pyramid. The Credit Suisse Wealth Report is different from other similar reports in a number of respects. The first thing I would point out is rigor and independence of the numbers. We worked very, very closely with Professor Tony Shorrocks and Jim Davies. They're the world authorities in the academic world on wealth, and they have brought a great deal of, I think, precision to the process.
Our report, I think, is quite unique. I think we're really into new territory here because we've tried for the first time to have a comprehensive picture of wealth holdings in the world, not only in 1 year but over a period of a decade. Our estimates suggest that wealth has grown 72% since the year 2000. Some of this is due to population increase. I mean, there has been an increase in the number of, in the population, in particular the adult population that we focus on. If we look at the world as a whole and ask the question, where is wealth being held? There's quite an easy answer to that because the bulk of world wealth is in 3 regions: North America, USA and Canada we link together, Europe, and the third area is the Asia-Pacific region, and more specifically the rich Asia-Pacific countries, I mean, led by Japan. These are the areas which have something like 90% or close to 90% of world wealth in these regions. That's true in the past. Now there's a clear movement upwards in the position of China. Regions which have very little wealth are effectively India on the whole and Africa are the 2 regions which are very seriously lagging behind in terms of average wealth.
The aim of the Wealth Report is to examine the wealth of all of the world's 4.4 billion adults. And conceptually, the best way we've come up with doing that is to look at a wealth pyramid divided up into 4 parts. The bottom of the pyramid are people who have wealth up to $10,000 per adult. There's about 3 billion people in this area, and that understandably comprises many of the emerging markets, but also many of the faster growing nations of the world, and also touches on many of the emerging trends in financial services, microfinance being a good example. The next upper segment or middle of the wealth pyramid are people with wealth between $10,000 per adult and $100,000 per adult. A lot of Europeans, again understandably, will be in here, but you've got about 300 million Chinese in this segment. And it's this middle part of the wealth pyramid that is driving some of the most exciting consumer trends in the world. And then you come to some of the high net worth people in the segment from $100,000 to about $1 million. It's a segment that, for example, is beginning to have a very, very sizable impact on the financial services industry. Then at the very peak of the pyramid, where I think a lot of other wealth reports tend to focus only exclusively, you have people with wealth of $1 million and upwards. And we could break this down to even further detail. There's 24 million people globally who have wealth between $1 million and $50 million. That's a lot of people. And then if you look at people with wealth of 50 million upwards, we estimate there's about 80,000 people. Again, a lot of those, closing in on half, would be resident in the US, and this really is the upper echelons of wealth.
We have data in the past from Forbes magazine and other sources for the number of billionaires, but there's a lack of data in roughly the million to 100 million range, and we've been able to get estimates of those numbers and also to break them down by region.
We estimate that there's over 1,000 billionaires in the world, and about 245 of those are in the Asian region. We estimate about 65 billionaires in China, 25 in India. So they really are beginning to have an important impact on the top of the pyramid, as well as really fueling the vibrant changes in the middle of the wealth pyramid and all of the changes in consumer behaviour that go hand in hand with that. As investment professionals, the next logical question for us is, where is wealth motivating trends, for example, in consumer expenditure? Where is it going to motivate changes in the financial services industry? And I'll give you two very, very clear examples. The middle of the wealth pyramid, people who have wealth between $10,000 and $100,000. Most of the people in that segment live in the fastest growing economies of the world. Countries like China. China has got about, I think it's 305 million people in the middle of the wealth pyramid. And their wealth is rising at a pretty impressive rate. And at the same time, consumer tastes in those countries are changing. And this, as an underlying motivating factor, is spurring change in consumer patterns, demand for luxury goods, for example, demand for food. If I give you another example, we can break down the composition of wealth across households into financial assets, into debt, and into non-financial assets, and predominantly real estate. And in many of the emerging countries of the world, it's non-financial assets or real estate that tends to dominate wealth. So the scope for households in those countries to increase financial assets is quite large, if you assume they follow slowly the pattern of the older, more developed countries, the US being a good example. And then when you think of that, you think of the possibilities for the financial services industry in countries like India, in Indonesia. Think of the possibilities for microfinance. You've already got 154 million people globally using microfinance, but if you look at the numbers in the Credit Suisse Wealth Report, the potential is enormous.